Joining us right now is New York Congressman Lee Zeldin. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
What do you make of Rex Tillerson? And it sounds like he's going to face some resistance in the Senate over doing business in Russia. I mean, this is the largest oil company. No kidding. He's doing business in Russia.
There's going to be a vetting. People are going to have some questions to ask, as you should. This is the Secretary of State position. People are concerned about what the future of the Iran nuclear deal should look like, what the U.S. relations should be with Israel and the conflicts there. Across the entire globe, there are important questions to ask him. As CEO of ExxonMobil, he, for decades, has been very active and outspoken on the climate change issue. How does that conflict or deconflict with the president-elect's position on climate change? A lot of the diplomacy that Rex Tillerson will have a ton of experience with will be related to energy exploration, which is great. What about all of the other challenges that come as Secretary of State? So the vetting component of it is something that should take place regardless of whoever on that entire list the president-elect ultimately chose.
Yeah, what do you guys think? I mean, on the one hand, of course, he should be vetted and sort of scrutinized in terms of the relationships and business ties that he's done. But on the other hand, here's a guy who really knows the hot spots in the world and has had to deal with, as Donald Trump would say, some bad hombres in terms of, hostile dictators and getting Exxon entree.
Well, I think it's important to note that the U.S. has had conflicting policy with Russia, especially when it does come to the Middle East, when it comes to Bashar al-Assad in Syria, right? And so that's been an ongoing conflict for 4 years that has dogged American diplomacy, especially Secretary Kerry, because we haven't been able to figure out how to take him out of power, and he's used chemical weapons. And so I think what Donald Trump is trying to send across is he wants someone that knows how to handle these people and has negotiated and has the long history of dealing with them. And so do you think this is a good pick?
Well, I think it has the potential of being a great pick as long as Rex Tillerson is prepared to, as you move past the energy piece of diplomacy. You mentioned Syria as an example. We are being tested right now. And when there's a vacuum created, there are people here in the United States who ideally believe that, we should disengage from everywhere around the globe, and that the good guys are going to fill all of those vacuums. Well, in Syria, Russia moved in. Well, we're being tested by Iran and China nation building and North Korea turning a nuclear reactor and threatening U.S. as they do it, Russia going into Ukraine. What is Rex Tillerson's vision of how to leverage whatever goodwill and positioning we have as the leader of the free world to deal with this and ensure that the good guys are the ones prevailing?
Yeah.
By making a Fortune 500 corporate pick, does this signal that he's interested in really tackling these trade deals? Because that's how I took it. I mean, this is a guy that has run a company with 75,000 employees, that operates in dozens of countries, that has a much familiarity with diplomacy and politics across the globe. Does this signal that he's really going to take trade seriously?
Well, I think that's a great point, because here you have someone who believes in free trade, becoming Secretary of State for a president-elect who campaigned on a very populist message of entering into good trade deals. And if we're going to renegotiate trade deals, as the president-elect has mentioned, what's Rex Tillerson's vision as far as NAFTA goes? What's his vision as far as this move to Asia? So we need to ensure that there is the right chemistry there with the president-elect, and that we do know what the future of negotiating trade deals and trade negotiating objectives and what countries we should negotiate with. Because coming from an ExxonMobil perspective, this is someone who's looking at foreign markets to get into in the best interest of his company.
Yeah.
But this is different now, because now it's what's in the best interest of our country, the United States of America.
Yeah, Dagan McDowell joined the conversation, back from double duty. Hey, Dagan. Good morning.
Good morning. But you talk about chemistry. It's Rex Tillerson's chemistry with Vladimir Putin. And Tillerson even received the Order of Friendship from the Kremlin. And given what we found out about the potential from the intelligence agencies, about the potential hacking of the U.S. election to sway it in Donald Trump's favor, Trump pushing back on that, dismissing that, and then you have Tillerson as the potential, the expected nominee to run the State Department. This just adds another layer that could potentially get in the way of him being approved.
Well, exactly. You don't have a lot of room right now. It used to be 60 votes. Now you only need 51 votes in the Senate. It means that you can't have a couple of Republicans drop off. So we'll see how he has to be very prepared for the vetting. As far as the relations with Russia, American foreign policy should be one, if we were to simplify it, but an important message is strengthening our relationships with our friends, treating our enemies as our enemies, understanding they don't respect weakness, they only respect strength. We say we can't be silent, not because we want war, but because we want to prevent it. How does that play with our relations specifically with Russia when we have other countries that we consider allies in contrary positions on a lot of key issues with Russia? So that certainly needs to be vetted to see how the order of friendship as position of ExxonMobil CEO, what that means as far as American foreign policy as Secretary of State.
Yeah, these are all questions that are being circulated now, which will come up in any confirmation hearing. Trump also made waves this weekend over his comments about one China policy. Listen to this.
I fully understand the one China policy, but I don't know why we have to be bound by a one China policy unless we make a deal with China, having to do with other things, including trade.
Well, a Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson reportedly responded to that, saying that the government is seriously concerned about Trump's comments. A development of ties between the U.S. and Taiwan, he said, quote, are out of the question. Congressman Zeldin, what's your take on this? I mean, obviously, Trump has been rattling the China cage now for a little while. He's questioning this one China policy. Should we not be dealing in any way, shape, or form with Taiwan? Not to upset China?
This is a democratic republic who we do deal with. And he took a call from a democratic republic. And the hypocrisy is a lot of the people who are going out of their way, tripping over themselves to criticize President-elect Trump for taking a call from the president of this democratic republic are the same people who would praise Barack Obama for making unilateral concessions to the Castros in Cuba. So there is a lot of hypocrisy of those who are criticizing the president-elect the most. We have smaller countries in that region who rely on the waterways for fishing, for many different important economic activities, and we have a lot of alliances there in that region. So the president-elect is making it very clear that we are not beholden to this country that is threatening us and threatening our allies, that we're going to stick up for ourselves and make economic decisions that are going to help the American economy, American companies, and the American worker. So I think the relationship is going to change, and it'll change for the better, because I believe that China will respect the fact that the president-elect is acting in the best interest of the United States of America. That's what this is about, and I think they would understand that and respect that. We need to be stronger and more consistent with our foreign policy.
Yeah, but